future. To conclude, we'd like to once again express our solidarity with the government and people of the DRC. The Russian Federation insists on the need to respect the sovereignty, territorial integrity, independence, and unity of the DRC as per the UN Charter. We will continue working to achieve this in practice, as well as for the crisis to be settled diplomatically. I thank you.
I thank the representative of the Russian Federation for their statement, and I now give the floor to the representative of the United Kingdom.
Thank you, President. Let me start by thanking SOSG Keita and Ms. Slente for briefing us today. And I pay tribute to the work of the brave staff and personnel of MONUSCO operating in the most challenging environment. I welcome the participation of the representatives of the DRC, Rwanda, Angola and Burundi. President, I will make 4 points. First, the UK regrets that despite the clear and urgent message that this Council sent last month with the unanimous adoption of Resolution 2773, M23 and Rwandan Defence Forces have continued their territorial advance. We strongly condemn the capture of Walikale, and we reiterate that the Rwandan Defence Forces must withdraw from sovereign Congolese territory, and all regional actors must cease support for armed groups. In addition, the UK condemns M23's continued restrictions on MONUSCO, which have prevented the mission being able to deliver key tasks mandated by this Council. Second, the UK welcomes efforts to deliver a peaceful resolution to the conflict. This includes the joint work of EAC and SADC and its creation of a panel of facilitators. The UK also recognises the efforts of His Highness the Emir of Qatar to convene President Tshisekedi and President Kagame for discussions in support of regional processes. We regret that despite the commitments made, an immediate and unconditional ceasefire has not yet materialised. In addition, the UK is grateful to Angola and President Lourenço for his exemplary leadership in securing significant agreements for sustainable peace. The Luanda process made important steps forward, including agreement on a harmonised plan for neutralising the FDLR, disengaging the Rwandan Defence Forces from DRC, and, most recently, agreement by the DRC government to direct talks with M23. We deeply regret that M23 were not willing to participate in these talks. Third, as we've heard from our briefers, the humanitarian situation in DRC remains dire. The UK supports the joint calls by EAC and SADC for the reopening of Goma Airport and humanitarian supply routes. We call on all parties to protect civilians, including from sexual and gender-based violence, and immediately end and prevent the abduction and recruitment of the use of children. The UK has committed over $18 million of humanitarian support to those in need in eastern DRC. Finally, President, the conflict in eastern DRC is undermining security across the region. We urge the parties to engage now in the regionally led peace processes to bring it to a sustainable end. I thank you.
I thank the representative of the United Kingdom for the statement, and I give the floor to the representative of the Republic of Korea.
Thank you, Madam President. I thank SRSG Keita and Ms. Salente for their briefing today. I also welcome the Minister Unduhurigire of Rwanda and representatives of DRC, Angola, Burundi to this meeting. Ever since the M23's offensive began last January, the Council has convened for the 5th time today and adopted a strong, unanimous resolution 2773. African states, regional organizations, and friendly countries have also made relentless diplomatic efforts to facilitate a political solution. Despite all these collective endeavors, it is deplorable that an immediate ceasefire is yet to be agreed upon and conflict violence continue to escalate in eastern DRC. Over the past week, we have witnessed the fighting over control of Walikale, another strategic and resource-rich town west of Goma. Moreover, while attention remains focused on the Putin North region in North Kivu, violent attacks against civilians by the ADF, Codeco have increased in Grand Nord and Ituri. Every day without cessation of hostilities exacerbates the humanitarian crisis, displacing hundreds of thousands and leading to grave human rights regressions. Let me emphasize 3 points in response to this precarious situation. First, the Republic of Korea strongly urges DRC and Rwanda to swiftly agree on political solution, as there is no military solution to the conflict. For this truly materialized, M23 must immediately cease hostilities and withdraw from all occupying areas. Both Rwanda and DRC must refrain from escalating the conflict by supporting armed groups. DRC's sovereignty and territorial integrity should be respected. We commend and support recent regional efforts led by the EAC and SADC and look forward to the role of the 5-member panel of facilitators who will build on the significant contributions of President Lourenço of Angola to this peace process. We also welcome the momentous trilateral meeting hosted by Qatar, which reaffirmed the commitment to regional initiatives. Second, we express concern on opportunistic attacks against the civilians by the ADF and Codeco in Grand Nord and Ituri, which is significantly increased in February. We urge armed groups to return to dialogue on the PDDRCS. In this context, MONUSCO's mandate remains critical in protecting civilians from potential attacks, particularly in Jugu. We encourage strengthened coordination between relevant authorities in this regard. MONUSCO's freedom of movement must be ensured. Attempts to hinder its mandate must cease, and the safety and security of peacekeepers must be prioritized as they operate under extremely difficult situations. Third, all parties must uphold their obligation under international humanitarian law and human rights law to end the terrible sufferings of civilians. We are deeply concerned by the alarming scale of human rights abuses and violations. Reports of sexual violence affecting over 60 victims daily, along with the lootings, killings, and the forced return of internally displaced persons, are appalling. We hope that Human Rights Council's decision to establish a fact-finding mission and independent commission of the inquiry would ensure accountability for all those who are responsible. Unhindered humanitarian access and the safety of the humanitarian personnel are essential for delivering life-saving aid. We reiterate the Council's call in Resolution 2773 to urgently open humanitarian corridors, as well as Goma, Kabumu airports in this regard. Madam President, Republic of Korea reaffirms the steadfast support for MONUSCO, SRSG, Keita, and regional and sub-regional organizations for their efforts in addressing this grave situation. I thank you.
I thank the representative of the Republic of Korea for the statement, and I give the floor now to the representative of Slovenia.
Thank you, Madam President. I wish to thank SRSG Keita for her briefing and Ms. Sente for her contribution to today's meeting. Madam President, Slovenia remains deeply concerned about the ongoing situation in eastern DRC. We are particularly concerned for all victims who bear the heaviest burden for all civilians who bear the heaviest burden of this conflict. As we have heard again today, current M23 offensive